Welcome back. This is Professor Homo with part 5 of the WCCC holiday card. And the last thing that I'm going to do here is just put on some type, arch it, and throw some effects on it. A couple things just to look at now that I have my bow and ribbons on here. Some of these things get covered up a little bit, so you can grab a layer and move it down a little bit if I want to have that woman's hat not be so covered up. And I don't want to go too far because the layer mask is covering it up and the photo ends, but if I want to move these things around a little bit, I have a little more room now because I have those ribbons covering up. So, I could even, this upper group photo, I may move it over a little bit so they're a little more balanced. But now I'm going to throw some type on here, and I'm going to go to my top layer so that everything goes over top when I do this. So to put type in Photoshop, just take your text tool. I usually just click once, and I'm going to type Warren, and I can see it's coming out gigantic. So I'm going to, before I do anything else, I'm going to go over to my character palette, and if you don't see your character palette, go Window, Character, okay, and I'm going to use my arrow tool, and I'm going to change, I'm just going to use a very basic font. I'm just going to use Garamond Pro, and I'll maybe make it bold, and I'm going to go down to like 24 point for now, until I get it, or maybe I'll go 36. So I know that everything's going to fit in here, and actually 36 may not work, so let me put my cursor back in here and finish typing. County Community College. You can see it's 36 point is too big. It's getting moved off, so I'll have to change that. And again, you can scale this with the arrows, but I like to go to the character palette with my arrow tool on. And you can use this slider too. If you slide down, it'll go down in smaller increments rather than just using this blue drop down. So that, it's hard to tell right now. That's probably a little on the bigger side, but actually 24 may be okay. So I'll go down, I'll try 26. Okay, also for changing color, I could use the character palette. I could go here, and if I wanted to just select a color from my ribbon, maybe even a lighter color from in there, I'll select the color from my ribbon and hit OK, and I did this right here in my character palette. Now I'll close that up. Other things I could do here, I could put a drop shadow on here, I could throw a glow on here. There's a lot of dark color here, so drop shadow may not help this. And I could go to layer style, and I could put a drop shadow on, and it'll probably help readability, but probably not as much I want because I have a dark color going over a lot of dark areas. And there's the drop shadow. It certainly helps. It would work with a lighter color like white, which I could use. Or another thing I'm going to try is I'll go to layer style, and I'm going to go to outer glow. Now I'm going to turn off my drop shadow. I don't know if I necessarily need that, although I can leave it on because it'll go behind your drop shadow. But for outer glow, I'm going to go here and make my color white. And then also, I'm going to just take my size and increase it. And the spread will make it a little stronger. Increase the spread on that, it'll make it kind of a stronger. Otherwise, it'll look a little too, soft and fuzzy. So I do want to make the size a little bigger and that. So I end up having my spread at 11, my size at about 16, which seems okay from what I'm looking at. And that looks pretty good. I can move it around. If I want to put a little arc on it, I need to do this arc in Photoshop. It's kind of like the arc in Illustrator. You can take your text tool and you just click in anywhere, and right up here you can see it'll bring up this little warp button. If you click on, and just like in Illustrator, choose arc, and that's way too much of an arc, so you may need it somewhere down just a little bit, maybe somewhere around 15 or even 10. I'll leave it at 13, find like a little difference, and hit OK. And then take my arrow again so I can move it around. You can re-edit that arc, so I don't want it covering people's faces or anything like that. But that looks pretty good. It looks pretty centered. You can nudge it a little bit. And since I did use this little arc on, or not the arc, but the outer glow, I could put a vignette on here if I wanted to, but that looks pretty good right now. So again, to edit the arc, if you had to, if you just click your cursor in here, that's where that arc thing comes up. And you could turn it off and put it back the way it was if you wanted to. And again, the outer glow, if you look over here in your layer palette, outer glow, if I double click on outer glow, this is outer glow. Spread and size I changed. Size makes it bigger, spread makes it kind of stronger and sharper. And it's on blend mode screen. If you put it on normal, it may be a little a little stronger. You could adjust the opacity as well. And I still do have a drop shadow on it that's actually going below the outer glow. It probably doesn't have much of an effect if I turn it off. Probably wouldn't notice it much, but it may help if there's some lighter areas that you're going through. It may help even set off that a little bit more. So that's about it from what we're dealing with here. Another thing, I'll throw this on here. It's not, you don't have to go overboard here, but another layer style, if you go to bevel and emboss, it puts a little bevel and emboss on the type, where it does a little kind of dark shadow and a highlight on the type, makes it a little 3D looking. You don't need a whole lot of that, and sometimes it may be a little much, but even if you turn it down, I'm going to turn it down just a little bit to like 1 pixel, still gives a little bit of depth to it, and it kind of cleans it up a little. So actually that's a subtle little change with that. So overall, just a quick little postcard here with 4 photos. We threw a bow in here, some ribbon. We did a lot of image editing, especially with these photos over here, which weren't great photos, but and we took time to do image editing, which is necessary. If you're going to work with Photoshop, you should take the time to make sure your photos look as best as they can. So I'm going to stop here, and obviously I didn't save this yet, so make sure you save this as your Photoshop document, which would keep all the layers, and then once you're done, you could save it as a JPEG, which would be the flattened version of it. So if you wanted to take this and get it printed out, you could first save it as a Photoshop, but then save an additional copy as a flattened JPEG. So I'm going to stop here and end this, and this is, again, you could do this with any photos, not these. Like do them with your photos of your kids or anything that you want for the holidays. It's kind of a nice look if you wanted to put multiple photos in for a holiday card. So I'm going to stop here, and thanks for watching.